Hey, what's up, church? Hope that y'all have had a good week, that you enjoyed Easter and this last week. I know we sure did at the Heineman house. I have really enjoyed getting to spend some extra time with my children, and we have been going on daily bike rides, and my son and I have been fishing a lot, and I've spent a lot of time reading my Bible and spending some time in worship and then in family worship. It's been good. I hope that in your family it's been good as well. I know that right now we are all stuck at home and we're starting to wonder, when is this going to end? It's kind of a crazy time. We've said that. You've probably heard a million sermons, or you've seen that a bunch of news cycles. We don't know when it's going to end. We're praying for our government, we're praying for our doctors and medical staff and first responders that they'd figure things out. We're praying for the people that they would realize that the best case scenario is to distance themselves, to hopefully slow down the spread of this terrible virus. I know that some of you have had family members affected by this, and we're praying for their safety. I spoke to one of the youth this last week who their roommate's grandfather actually passed away because of this virus. And so it becomes a little bit more real to us when it has affected somebody that we know. I know that I've also talked to one of our parents who is in healthcare, and they're dealing with it every day. And for us, kind of stuck in the bubble and maybe not seeing this every day, it's kind of, when can we get out of our house? But for those who are working in it every day, they're still kind of going, no, you need to sit tight. It's still very real, it's still very dangerous. And so I hope that you all are being safe, but also taking advantage of the time that we have. This morning I started thinking about a couple different things. But I woke up thinking, aren't there plants who do better with a little bit of adversity, a little bit of stress? And so I started researching that this morning, and one of my favorite vegetables does great with stress, and that's collards. I think many of us probably grew up eating collard greens on New Year's Day for luck, or we eat them also on Christmas morning and on Thanksgiving in our house when we were growing up. And I always remember good memories of family and things like that when I think about collard greens. But I started reading about that this morning. Collard greens and other greens like kale actually do much better with a little stress. After a frost, what the collard will do is start turning its enzymes into sugars and actually kind of create its own little natural antifreeze. And so after that, the plant actually tastes sweeter. It does better with adversity and stress. Just like us. That's how God created us. People, anybody who goes to the gym or goes for runs and eats a little bit better understands this. After we put our body through physical stress, our body gets stronger. Just like our physical bodies get stronger after stress, our spiritual bodies do as well. That's how God created us. James 1 says, count it all blessings when you fall under stress, because these things build patience. But not only that, there's other scriptures that point to that as well. One of my youth yesterday in a Zoom pointed out that her favorite scripture is Romans 8:18. And look, that says this: I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. And that's Paul. And Paul is saying, look, after we go through this stress, and he's not discounting it. We're not saying shrug off the stress. We know that it stinks right now. We know that life is really hard for a lot of people. We're not discounting that. But what Paul is saying is, look at what God is going to do in your life and see how God's glory is going to be revealed in you, how God, His work is going to be more completed in you after some stress. He says, be happy with that. So think about this. The next time you go and eat collards, or you go to the store, or you plant your garden, you go out, and that's usually a winter plant, a little bit of stress is okay. Think about, what is God preparing you to do? A good friend of mine named William used to say, all people in the Bible who did big things, that God used them to do big things, spent a little time in a hole. Think about Joseph. Literally spent time in a hole, sold into slavery, thrown into prison. God was preparing him to be number 2 in Egypt and to save His people. Think about Ruth. Think about Esther, Paul, Peter. All of these people that God used in the Scripture all went through some adversity. God used it greatly to build His church. God still is using people to build His church. I can't help but think that God is getting ready to do something big in our community, but not just our community, in the world. Think about, how is God preparing you to minister to others? How is God preparing you to build the kingdom? And we might not be talking about on a huge scale. We might be talking about in your house. God is preparing you. Start thinking about what ways and counting blessings. That's what we're doing in our house. I'm counting it a blessing that I get to spend more time with my children. I'm counting it a blessing that I'm laughing a lot more. Kind of a blessing because, to be honest with you, we've been more contact with kids and families in the last few weeks than we have in a while. And that's a good thing. I'm certain that God is about to do something big. How is God preparing you? He does use stress. We all know that. So let's count it a blessing, like the book of James and like Paul tells us here. Love y'all. We miss you so much. Have a great week.